Today, we are diving into a true gem from the golden age of strategy RPGs. Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. Released in 1999 for the Nintendo 64, this game was developed by Quest and published by Atlus, continuing the lineage of the Ogre Battle series. It's a game that often gets overshadowed by more mainstream RPGs from the era, but for those who played it, Ogre Battle 64 holds a special place in their hearts. It's a title that blended deep tactical gameplay with an epic narrative, set in a war-torn world full of political intrigue, betrayal, and moral ambiguity. Unlike many RPGs of its time, it didn't rely on traditional turn-based combat or random encounters. Instead, it introduced a fresh combination of real-time strategy with a heavy focus on character management and squad formation. For many players, especially those who were deep into the Nintendo 64 library, this was one of the few RPGs available for the console. The Nintendo 64 wasn't exactly known for its RPGs, most of them were on the PlayStation during that generation. However, Ogre Battle 64 stood out for not only being one of the few in its genre on the system, but also for being incredibly complex and rewarded. The game's isometric viewpoint and tactical gameplay were revolutionary for the N64, especially considering the more action-oriented titles that dominated the platform at the time. The narrative is set in the tumultuous kingdom of Palatinus, a land plagued by political unrest, class struggles, and the looming shadow of rebellion. You step into the shoes of Magnus Gallant, a young officer who begins his journey as a fresh graduate of the military academy, full of ideals and a desire to protect the realm. As he enters the battlefield, he quickly finds himself at a crossroads, facing the harsh realities of war and the corrupt systems in place that favor the aristocracy while oppressing the working class. From the very start, it's clear that this isn't your typical good versus evil fantasy tale. The game's world building is rich and complex, focusing heavily on themes of power, loyalty, and moral ambiguity. Magnus, as the protagonist, starts off as a loyal soldier of the Holy Lotus Empire, but as he witnesses the oppression of the lower classes and the manipulation by those in power, his loyalty wavers. This inner conflict serves as a key theme throughout the game. One of the most gripping aspects of Ogre Battle 64 is its branching storylines. The choices you make, whether it's in dialogue or in the outcome of specific battles, can not only Magnus's journey, but also the fate of Palatinus as a whole. To different narrative paths, each with its own consequences. There are multiple endings to the game, ranging from triumphant to tragic, and your alignment can shift depending on your actions. This adds an incredible amount of replayability, as you'll want to see how different decisions affect not only Magnus's journey, but also the fate of Palatinus as a whole. The game's story also heavily draws upon the mythos of the Ogre Battle series, particularly the concept of the Ogre Battle, which refers to an ancient war between humans and the ogre's creatures that represent chaos and destruction. The aftermath of this legendary battle still echoes through the world of Palatinus, with lingering tensions and remnants of ancient power struggles. While the ogres themselves don't play a direct role in this installment, their legacy is felt throughout the story, as the theme of balancing order and chaos is a central conflict for Magnus and the other characters. At its core, the story of Ogre Battle 64 is about the personal and political transformation of Magnus Gallant as he navigates the murky waters of war, justice, and leadership. His journey reflects the player's choices, allowing you to shape the kind of leader he becomes. Will you be a beacon of hope for the oppressed, or will you maintain order by any means necessary? That's up to you. And with its intricate web of choices, the game keeps you on your toes, ensuring that every decision feels meaningful. Let's dive into the gameplay mechanics of Ogre Battle 64, where the game truly shines. At its core, the game is a unique blend of real-time strategy and RPG elements, setting it apart from more traditional turn-based RPGs of the time. The gameplay revolves around tactical planning, unit management, and strategic decision-making, all while progressing through a story-driven campaign. It's the kind of game that rewards players who enjoy thinking ahead and carefully managing their resources on and off the battlefield. One of the key gameplay elements in Ogre Battle 64 is unit formation. You don't just control individual characters. Your army is made up of squads, each containing up to 5 characters. These characters can be soldiers, mages, healers, or a variety of other classes, and their placement within the squad directly affects how effective they are in combat. Once the squads are formed, Ogre Battle 64 enters the battle phase, which operates in semi-real time. Battles take place on a large map where you move your units around to complete objectives such as capturing cities or defeating enemy forces. The battles themselves are automated to an extent, with your squads engaging enemies based on how you've positioned them. However, you have control over critical decisions like issuing retreat orders, targeting specific enemies, or using special commands like tactical retreats or healing spells at the right moment. The key to victory often lies in pre-battle preparation, making sure your squads are properly equipped, leveled up, and strategically placed for the task at hand. Class progression is another major component of the gameplay. Characters start in basic classes like Fighter or Amazon, but as they level up and meet certain stat requirements, they can advance to more specialized classes like Swordmaster, Valkyrie, or Dragon Tamer. This system is incredibly rewarding because it gives you the freedom to develop your characters however you want. There are over 50 unique classes to unlock, each with its own abilities, strengths, and weaknesses, adding layers of strategy as you mix and match different types of unit. One of the game's defining features is the alignment system, which tracks the moral standing of your characters and squads. Alignment can be influenced by various factors, including the types of enemies you defeat, the decisions you make during key story events, and even the level disparity between your units and the foes you face. If you crush a weaker enemy, your unit's alignment may shift toward evil, while fighting stronger foes or protecting the innocent will improve their alignment. This alignment system plays a crucial role in how the story unfolds, as it affects your reputation, the kinds of recruits you can enlist, and even the game's multiple endings. Beyond the battlefield, there's a robust amount of customization. You can equip characters with different weapons, armor, and accessories, all of which can drastically change how they perform in combat. Some equipment is class-specific, meaning only certain units can wield particular weapons, which adds another layer of depth when considering how to outfit your squad. Lastly, the strategic layer is further enhanced by special items and tactical abilities such as tarot cards, a hallmark of the Ogre Battle series. These cards provide powerful one-time effects in battle, such as dealing massive damage, healing your units, or altering the battlefield in your favor. Knowing when and how to use these cards can turn the tide of battle, giving you an edge in even the most difficult encounters. The gameplay of Ogre Battle 64 is a finely tuned balance of strategy, planning, and execution. Its intricate squad mechanics, diverse class system, and real-time tactical battles offer a level of depth that's rare, even among today's strategy RPGs. Whether you're carefully placing your units for an optimal attack or managing the moral compass of your army, every decision in Ogre Battle 64 feels meaningful and rewarding. Released in 1999, the game faced some unique challenges when it came to visuals and audio, as the N64 was known more for its 3D action games than for strategy RPGs. However, Ogre Battle 64 managed to craft a distinct visual and auditory experience that complemented its deep gameplay mechanics, even if it didn't push the system to its technical limits. Starting with the graphics, Ogre Battle 64 uses a combination of 2D sprites and 3D environments, a hallmark of many late 90s strategy games. The game's isometric perspective allows you to get a bird's-eye view of the battlefield, offering a clear and strategic look at the terrain and the positioning of your units. The sprites themselves are highly detailed for the time, with each character class having its own distinct look, from the armor-clad knights to the robed spellcasters. These sprites may seem simple by today's standards, but they were charming and effective at the time, providing enough personality to make each unit easily identifiable in the heat of battle. The battle animations are where the game's graphics really shine. When your units engage in combat, the game zooms in on a close-up of the two squads facing off. Here, the characters come to life with fluid animations, sword swings, magic spells, and special attacks are all accompanied by satisfying visual effects. Spellcasting animations, in particular, are vibrant, with bright flashes of color and intricate patterns that convey the power of the magic being used. The game employs a style that's reminiscent of classic anime and JRPGs from the late 90s. The hand-drawn portraits that accompany dialogue scenes are a standout feature. These character portraits are beautifully illustrated, giving each character a unique personality and helping to drive the emotional beats of the story. This mix of sprite-based combat, detailed environments, and character art creates a cohesive visual experience that still holds a lot of nostalgic charm for fans of the era. Moving on to the sound design, Ogre Battle 64 offers an impressive score that perfectly complements the game's tone. The music was composed by Hayato Matsuo and Hitoshi Sakimoto, both of whom brought their game to create a soundtrack that captures the epic scope of the story. The music ranges from dramatic orchestral pieces that play during key moments in the narrative to more subdued, atmospheric tracks that set the mood during exploration or tactical planning. One of the standout tracks is the Overworld theme, which sets the stage for the grand battles ahead with its sweeping orchestration. Each area you enter has its own music, helping to build the atmosphere of the different regions within Palatinus. While the N64's sound chip wasn't as powerful as that of the PlayStation, the composers made excellent use of the hardware, delivering a score that feels larger than life. What really adds to the nostalgic appeal of Ogre Battle 64 is how its audio-visual presentation fits with the game's strategic depth. While the graphics weren't pushing the boundaries of what the Nintendo 64 could do, they were more than adequate to convey the scale and complexity of the battles. The hand-drawn character portraits and well-animated battle sequences, combined with a fantastic soundtrack, created a cohesive experience that left a lasting impression on players. The blend of strategic gameplay, atmospheric music, and engaging art helped make Ogre Battle 64 feel like more than just a tactical RPG. It felt like a living, breathing world in the midst of political chaos. While Ogre Battle 64 may not have been the flashiest game on the Nintendo 64, its art direction, character design, and musical score created a memorable atmosphere that perfectly complemented its deep gameplay mechanics. The sound and visuals come together to draw you into the conflict, making the battles feel epic and the story feel significant. For fans of strategy RPGs, the graphics and sound of Ogre Battle 64 are an essential part of what makes the game a timeless classic. Let's dive into the legacy of Ogre Battle 64, a game that, while often flying under the radar, has left a lasting impression on the strategy RPG genre. It's important to acknowledge that Ogre Battle 64 stood out as one of the very few RPGs on the Nintendo 64, a console not known for its role-playing games. The N64's library was dominated by platformers, action games, and multiplayer-focused experiences, with iconic titles like Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and GoldenEye 007 leading the charge. However, when it came to RPGs, the PlayStation was where the genre thrived during that era. Ogre Battle 64 filled a significant gap on the N64. Another key part of the game's legacy is how it expanded on the foundations laid by the Ogre Battle series and its sister series, Tactics Ogre. The original Ogre Battle, released in 1993 for the Super Nintendo, introduced many of the mechanics and themes that Ogre Battle 64 would refine. Despite its innovation in depth, Ogre Battle 64 didn't receive the same level of commercial success as some of its contemporaries. Part of this can be attributed to the fact that the N64 was not known for RPGs, so Ogre Battle 64 didn't have the built-in audience that the PlayStation had with titles like Final Fantasy VII. Additionally, the game's steep learning curve and complex systems may have been daunting for some players, especially those unfamiliar with strategy RPGs. However, the game's cult following has only grown over time. For those who did dive into it, Ogre Battle 64 became a treasured experience, one that fans continued to champion long after its initial release. Over the years, Ogre Battle 64 has gained recognition as one of the best strategy RPGs of its era, with many players looking back on it fondly as a hidden gem. Its complexity, replayability, and the weight of its narrative choices have helped it age gracefully, and it's often recommended to fans of the genre who may have missed it the first time around. The game has been re-released on platforms like the Wii Virtual Console, allowing a new generation of players to experience it, which further solidified its standing as a classic. The lasting appeal of Ogre Battle 64 is also evident in how often it is referenced in discussions about underrated RPGs or games that deserve a modern remake. The game's fans are vocal about their love for it, and many have hoped for either a remaster or a sequel that could bring the series into the modern gaming era. The desire for more games in the Ogre Battle universe remains strong, and Ogre Battle 64 stands as a testament to how much potential the series still has. Even without a modern revival, the game's reputation has only grown, and it remains a cornerstone for those looking to explore the best of 1990s strategy RPGs. In conclusion, Ogre Battle 64 has solidified itself as a cult classic with a legacy that goes beyond its initial release. It's remembered as a bold, complex, and richly detailed game that pushed the boundaries of what RPGs could achieve on the N64. Its influence can be felt in many modern RPGs and strategy games, especially in how they handle tactical depth and player choice. For fans of the genre, it's a must-play title, and its place in gaming history continues to be appreciated by those who crave a challenging, thought-provoking experience. Thank you for joining us. If you liked this deep dive into the retro world of Ogre Battle 64, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep questing and keep gaming.